Hello guys, welcome to this channel, and in this video we are going to solve quadratic equations using the completing square method. All right, so the first thing you should always do is to write your equations to look like this. All right, that is the general format of quadratic equations. So before we start, just a reminder, in my first video I used the quadratic formula to solve problem 1 on the left hand side. Okay, so if you're not sure how to use the quadratic formula, I'll just paste the link. I'll paste the link on the description so that you can watch that video and you'll get to know how to use the quadratic formula. So in this video we are using completing square method, and this time around we are going to solve 2 questions. All right, this is because the completing square method is normally a bit tricky to understand, but after the 2 questions you'll be good to go. All right, so I'll just take my problem up there and drop it down here. So I'll have x squared. Okay, I want to make it look like this. All right, so I need ax squared, which I already have. Then the number with the x should follow, that is 8. So now if my 8 crosses the equal sign to the left hand side, it becomes a negative number. All right, this is something that happens whenever you cross a number over the equal sign. All right, so 8 was positive, it's now negative. Then positive 14 was right there, okay, equals to 0. So I have the format that I need. All right, so the next step for completing square method is to get rid of this lone number. All right, the c. So always cross your c to the other side so that you leave these guys alone. Okay, so 14 going to the other side will become a negative number, just like that. And then what follows is that, let me show you, this is the tricky part and you need to be keen. All right, to complete the square, you just take x, okay, without its square, then follow with whatever sign there. The sign which is here is negative, and then you take half of b. All right, so half of b is 8/2, and then you square the whole thing. All right, so on the right hand side we add 14. All right, so to this number that to the c that crossed the sign, you add the half of b squared. Okay, this way you have completed the square. All right, you just take your x, okay, without the square sign. You follow with the sign that was following, maybe it's a plus or a minus, it has to follow down there, and then you take half of b. In this case my b was 8, so 8/2, then I square the whole thing. And then on the right hand side of my equation, I add the square of that result of half of b, right? Just this thing. Okay, so I want to do problem 2 up to that step, and then you see just where you stand. All right, as far as understanding is concerned. So let me take problem 2. So in this problem, let's try and follow the same procedure. So I have x minus 2, everything squared equals to 25. So again, there is a video I've done on quadratic identities. So this bracket can actually be broken down to look like this, to look like x squared subtract 4x plus 2. Okay, so that's what the bracket looks like. Not plus 2, sorry, plus 4. Okay, so don't worry if you don't understand how this comes. The main concern right now is to understand completing square method. But if you want to know how I'm breaking down that bracket, I'll just share the link to my video on quadratic identities so that you go learn how we break down that bracket. All right, so now this simply means that my equation will look like this. The whole of problem 2 will look like x squared minus 4x plus 4 equals to 25. Okay, so remember we said once you have this format, ensure c is the number without x. Okay, ensure c is on the right hand side. So I'll have x squared minus 4x. Then I have to throw my 4 to the right hand side, where it will be subtracted because it's a positive number. So 25 minus 4 is actually 21. All right, so once you have this, then we do the tricky part. Okay, so here's the tricky part. You just take your x without the square sign, follow with this mathematical sign that is there, which is a minus in this case. Then you do half of b. My b is 4, so I'll take half of 4, and then I square the whole thing. Now, on the right-hand side, I'm having 21. So to 21, I'm adding the half of 4 squared, okay? This same entity there is what I add on the right-hand side, all right? It's always added. That way, I have completed the square, all right? So from there, what do we do? Let's get back to the first question now. So you have x minus half of 8 is actually 4, and then the bracket is squared. Okay, now on the right hand side, you have negative 14 plus, it will look like this. Negative 14 plus 4 squared, because 8 over 2 is 4. So that is like negative 14 plus 16, right? What do you get when you do negative 14 plus 16? At that point, you can punch your calculator, okay? Because 4 squared is 16, okay? So now I'll have x minus 4 bracket squared equals to, you'll end up with a 2 on the right-hand side, okay? So we have to get rid of the square symbol. If you take it to the right-hand side, the opposite of square is a square root. So I'll have x minus 4 equals to square root of 2. Now, at your level, you should know very well that anytime you're finding the root of a number, it has to be plus or minus. So it's just common sense to put plus or minus symbol just next to the root sign, okay? And then from here, guys, you'll have x. If I cross this 4 to the right-hand side, it will change it to a positive number. So x equals to positive 4 plus or minus root 2, okay? So how do you get your first answer? The first answer, you take 4 plus root 2, you'll get your x1, okay? So x1 will actually be, if you do 4 plus root 2, what do you get? Let me just punch my calculator. So 4 plus root 2, I get 5.41. All right. And your second answer, you do 4 minus root 2, okay? Remember, we are working with both these signs. So I'll do 4 minus root 2, which I'll get 2.59. And these two are my answers, okay, for the first problem. Now, let's proceed with problem 2, okay? So problem 2, this is what we are having. So we'll have x minus half of 4 inside this bracket is a 2. So it's like x minus 2, everything squared, okay, equals to 21. 21 plus 2 squared, okay, because 4 over 2 is just 2. So we have 21 plus 2 squared, all right? So this will be x minus 2 bracket squared equals to, what is the answer on the final, on the right-hand side? It will be 21 plus 4, which is 25. Huh? And then we get rid of the square, right? To get rid of the square symbol, you have to take it to the right-hand side to be the opposite of a square, which is actually a square root. So we'll have x minus 2 equals to, now the square is no longer there. It has become a square root on the right-hand side, all right? And whenever you're finding square root, you have to do plus or minus, okay? So you'll have x minus 2 equals to plus or minus root 25, okay? And root 25 is actually 5, okay? So that one we can just write it, plus or minus 5, all right? So if I throw my negative 2 to the right-hand side, it will become positive because it was negative on the left-hand side. So I'll have x equals to positive 2 plus or minus root 25 or plus or minus 5, because root 25 is actually 5. So my x1 will be, if I take 2 plus 5, I get 7, okay? You get 7. My x2 will be I take 2 subtract 5. Remember, we have to use both signs. So 2 subtract 5, I get -3. So that is my answer for problem 2, okay? So guys, just to make things much better, I will try and do another video on completing square method only, just to ensure that you guys understand. I hope you have learned something, and thank you very much for choosing my channel. Remember to subscribe.
Audio Jungle.